Hey guys, welcome to this review. I guess you can call it. My name is Renee, and this is for the Telemark.com. And I want to present to you my first impression of the Meidjo binding. I wanted to do this review for this equipment, but warning, I'm not a pro at doing reviews. And I'd like to point a good friend of mine, Craig Desty from earnyourturns.com, for a true review on this binding and actually like any telemark gear that you want to know about, go to his website and check it out. But he did a complete review of the binding with clear views on all aspect and all that stuff. But I wanted to give you my impression. And I want to mention that when you're trying a gear like this, or I felt like I was also trying a new pair of skis and somewhat a new pair of boots. I had already tried this Scarpa TX Pro boots, but that's not my usual day-to-day boot. And I think this is what I can relate to the Telemark tribe is whenever we have new equipment, we tend to try to isolate one of the components, but often we will buy more than one of the stuff at once and combine it into a new package and evaluate this key or this binding or this boot and maybe forget about the whole package. So that's what I want to do here. I want to check with you this new technology, the Meidjo. I had a lot of anticipation for this setup, and it's like whenever you go see a movie and you hear all over the place that it's the best movie of the year, and you can only be disappointed if it's just great. So I felt like this trying the Meidjo. I was really excited, and this binding has all the ingredients to become the next big thing in Telemark. It's a step in, it's releasable, it's light, and it's supposed to ski great. Plus it's got this low tech touring capacity. When I first wrote about the pre-production model last spring, I was already in awe with all the features presented by the inventor Pierre. Um, I already did an interview for my podcast with Pierre. You can check that out also. You really feel that he's connected, he's really dedicated to inventing something great. So, like I said, let's go to see a great movie and hoping not to be disappointed. I think that everybody in the Telemark tribe looking at this binding for the first time is like, whoa, it looks complicated. How do you go from the walk mode to the Telemark mode? It's such a different design that I didn't understand really all of it before I have actually tried it, had it in my hands, and so on. So, behold, let's check this beautiful design and put it to the test. So, I went to the Chic Shocks for a backcountry trip with 3 days with some friends and tested the thing. So, first, I'm not used to low tech and getting in and out. I expected it to be hard. Craig Dusty mentioned to me that it was the best fitting low tech he had ever seen on the market. And I guess he was right because it was fairly easy to get in the binding for me. Um, I like to have the binding in the touring mode to put it on. So there's nothing in the way to get the insert lined up. To do so, you have to do these steps: arm the binding up, push down, and clip the touring hook. Then put it on by aligning the pins with the boots insert and press down. You can wiggle a bit if needed to get on. Then, to get really fully engaged in the telemark mode, just release the touring hook and clip on just like this. This is not the way that Pierre, the inventor, explains how to put the binding on, because I guess by doing it this way, you have to bend down and to release the touring hook, and it's not I guess, a really true step in if you have to bend down. Maybe I'm just, you know, not so used to low tack, or simply I don't care about bending down. But in the end, I felt like it was a good way for me to get the binding on. So maybe when I get more used to having the low tech insert a line, I'll just do it like Pierre, arming the binding and simply, snapping it all at once. Telemark, it's a downhill technique. So everybody so far that I talked to or read about really liked the skiing, so I was not so worried about this part. Usually everybody can't go wrong. So I want to point out that there's two dials to adjust tension, and you have the choice to add an extra spring on each side for more tension. My good friend Max from Xalibu Skis mounted the binding for me, and he had already added the second set of spring, knowing my style of telemark. So this created a really active feeling, lots of tension, and very close to I thought a hammerhead by 22 Design in the number 4 position. It did not feel at all like an NTN binding, mainly because I had no feeling of being stopped at the end of the movement. I could keep going all the way and just adding more tension. So it's not also like a mellow 75 millimeter binding like I'm used to in the Black Diamond 01, or I guess you could call it any other 75 millimeter binding like voile or just neutral binding. So it's really an active binding. I will have to play with the spring tension to see all the possibilities, but I have to say that I was really happy with the way my friend Max set up the spring tension for me like this. Um, I want to bring back the whole system as an idea. So the boots and skis. I had never tried the carbon convert, and this is a solid charger. It's not at all a mellow, soft, playful ski that you can push around. So this driver really contributed to my feeling of having a strong setup under my foot. The only odd were the boots. I actually love the TX Pro. They're so comfy, fairly light compared to what I'm used to, and warm. But I had to adapt to its softness. Conditions were wind packed in the chic shocks, and I had to tighten the boots like mad to get the power I needed to ski the whole thing. After a few days, I got used to the boots and it was okay. But in the end, I really missed a more powerful boot, mainly because that's what I'm used to, I guess, skiing the Black Diamond Custom, which is just a killer, powerful boots. I would have set up for just a little bit more power, and I would have been happy. So I would give the Meidjo a strong 10 on 10 for skiing. It really delivered in terms of power versus feeling. It's unmatched in my mind, except for like Hammerhead or Axel, and it's definitely better than the NTN Freeride because of this feeling that's closer to the 75 millimeter bindings than it is to NTN. A cool feature about this binding is the release. So the release tension is adjusted by another dial. So it's on this side here, and you simply use an Allen key to create the tension. There's no clear indication on how to set up the release tension. I love the idea that the tension release is independent of the tension of the binding activeness, but I would have liked to know how to adjust the release tension. My tech, Max, set it up halfway, so he didn't have any more cues. I had no pre-release problems while skiing, either on the toe piece or the second heel. touring. For me, this was by far the part that interested me the most. All the Telemark Tech system family, so I call them the TTS binding, like the original TTS. There's a new one also called the Moonlight, and this Meidjo uses the advantages of those pins at the front that they call low tech, invented by Dynafit 3 decades ago. So, and that's what gave the Alpine tourers a lot of advantages over the last few years, and the market has gone this way. So I had never tried the TTS or the Moonlight, so I will consider the Meidjo as my first binding that integrates all the benefits of low tech in a Telemark gear. And right away, I can tell you what a pleasure. The touring hook was changed, and this is one aspect that I was worried about not being user friendly. So let me explain. It never iced, and it was really easy to operate. And I actually love how easy it was to go from the walk mode to the telemark mode, hooking the second heel into place. To go the other way around, you have to remove the binding, which is, not my favorite thing, but I can live with that because of all the other advantages. So once you're in the touring mode, it's like any touring mode. I had tried the Plum, which is a very light, low tech AT binding many years ago, and I don't remember the low tech to be so efficient. Like maybe because I was alpine skiing and I don't really like it. But the Meidjo, wow. In this, I have to consider the whole package. Boots offered great comfort and a lot of movement, a lot more than I'm used to with my regular custom boots, Black Diamond Custom. The skis are very light compared to my amperage, and the Meidjo really delivered. Wow, just, again. Until I had a lot of release of the pins with medium side force. This is wrong. I was missing something. And all the people can't be in awe of this binding if it always release in the walk mode. But there's no really any walk mode. And this is a great example of a Telemark skier not used to completely new design and being confused. I'm not a real tester, that's what I do in life. And although I felt dumb about not finding out to lock the front low tack on the binding at first, I'm sure I'm not going to be the only one to do this mistake. I kept trying to lift this red tab from the ski to walk mode, like on any Dynafit or pretty much any low tech binding I know, and it didn't work out. So in the end, I had to read the instruction. I can I can hear Craig Dusty laughing at me right now, and I found, to find that you have to press this big black bar, and it simply locks that red tab, so it can't unlock. So told you I'm not an expert at all the gear testing. What I'm good at though is really being out in the mountain and telemark skiing, and I do a lot of that, and really the feeling this binding delivered. I loved how I could tour, the efficiency, the lightness, and every aspect was dialed on, except for one thing: the climbing risers. Simply said, they just didn't meet my criteria of a good climbing riser. It's a light setup. It looked like it worked good, but on one of the two, I had some spacing created by the misalignment of a pin. I know pins have been an issue that Pierre has worked on and solved on the main binding, but like you see here, we kind of see it. It's offset here. The pin is off the main slot. So it's just, I wouldn't mind having a beefier one that worked through and through. I have to say that Another problem I had slightly was just a bit of icing. It happened only once, and just by removing the ski and tapping, and it went away. Um, on that red bar that you kind of see just under my foot there. So yeah, it happened once. I don't know any binding that doesn't ice, so uh, this one did also. Not a big issue. I was overall very pleased with the binding. In the end, I have to say I'm very impressed. The binding hold to the reputation it already have. Time will now tell if it holds up to beating of time, you know. But on that note, the Meidjo has already made a few adjustments, adding some few extra screws to better hold up from ripping off the skis. It changed the touring hook, like I said before, and I found it really convenient. I know that some of the early adopters had versions of the plastic that were not so as strong as Pierre intended to be, so he's corrected that already. And if I compare it to all the other stuff on the market right now, I have to say that it's a one piece that really changes the game so far. It combines everything that you need, and it's definitely a step up from NTN in my mind, giving Telemark skiers a true feeling, 75 millimeter feeling, classic feeling. With solid performance, like a modern Telemark binding, like Hammerhead are doing, or even the G3 are doing. And you're not sacrificing, actually, you're increasing your mobility in the backcountry. And nowadays, it's harder and harder to get freshies, so you have to be wanting to go and further in the backcountry. So for me, it really combines those three aspects. And even I've never had any injuries with release or non-release binding. This guy gives me a release. It's never a bad thing. I'm really pleased with the product so far. I'll keep skiing it for sure, and give you more input as I discover more about this binding. I'll make sure I lock in the toe piece when I'm touring. And yeah, that's it for today. So if you have any questions, please write them down below in the comment section, and I'll try to do my best to answer them. If you want the binding, the best way is to check their websites. It's the mequipment.com. I'll put a link also just below. So thank you for listening. This is Rene Martin for Absolute Telemark.